They whispered that I'd given up, that I'd traded something great for something small. No one bothered to ask, they just told my story for me. But truth doesn't always shout. Sometimes it waits, quietly, for the perfect moment to be heard. If you believe in silent strength and stories that build slowly but hit deep, then you're in the right place. Subscribe now, because sometimes the most powerful comebacks come from the quietest beginnings. My name is Isabella Clark. I'm 32, living in a modest apartment above a tiny independent bookstore in Portland. I brew my own coffee, pay my own bills, and apparently I'm still the family's disappointment. I was meant to be the star, the lawyer, the achiever, the golden child. That was until I wasn't. I left law school halfway through my second year. No scandal, no addiction, just pure exhaustion. Kind of burnout that hollows you out from the inside while the world expects you to smile through it. When I walked away, my father didn't speak to me for months. My mother told everyone I was taking some time off, hiding the truth behind polite lies. My younger brother, Ethan, slid smoothly into the spotlight, the new pride of the family. Finance degree, corner office, engaged to a perfect girl from a respected family. The whole package. Meanwhile, I found myself teaching computer basics to seniors in my neighborhood, just to keep sane, to keep moving. First, it felt like failure. But then, it started to feel like purpose. One-on-one lessons in coffee shops became group classes at the local library. Then webinars. Then an online platform I called SilverLink. Our mission? Helping people over 60 stay connected in a digital world that constantly tries to leave them behind. We taught email, video calls, online banking, digital safety, even how to spot fake news before it spreads like wildfire on Facebook. It wasn't glamorous. It wasn't a unicorn startup. But it worked. That week, I had a video call with Mrs. Hargrove, 85 years old, 2 hip replacements, and enough sass to fill a sitcom. Took us nearly an hour to get her Zoom mic working. She kept calling me dear and muttering, "This contraption hates me." But when it finally worked and she saw her son's face, her boy who lived 3 states away, on the screen, she gasped. Hand over her mouth, she whispered, "You brought my baby into my living room." Moments like that don't make headlines. They don't make you rich or famous. But they change lives. And that's why I built SilverLink. Within 3 years, we had over 100,000 active users. We partnered with statewide nonprofits and community centers. We were transforming lives, one patient tutorial at a time. But to my family, I was doing some kind of online teaching thing. No one asked how it was going. No one said they were proud. In their eyes, I'd stepped off the golden path and vanished into the woods. They didn't see that I'd built the path myself, that I'd lit the way for others to follow. Last month, at a Sunday dinner, my mother served roast chicken and casually said to Ethan's fiancée, "Ethan's always been so focused." Isabella, well, she's more of a free spirit. I smiled politely, sliced my vegetables, and said nothing. 'Cause that's what disappointments do. We stay quiet. We stay polite. We stay invisible. But something was about to change. The change started with a name I hadn't heard in years, a name spoken by someone who didn't yet know who I really was. The irony wasn't lost on me. I could build a platform that made thousands of strangers feel seen and heard. Yet my own family never asked me a single real question. SilverLink, we were deep into a major update, making our onboarding process even simpler for seniors who'd never touched a keyboard before. I just finished a user test with a 78-year-old man who cried when he managed to FaceTime his granddaughter for the first time. He kept saying, "She thought I was gone. Now she can see I'm still here." That moment, more than any funding announcement or award, lit me up inside. But when I mentioned it at the next family dinner, my father just grunted. Teaching old folks to click buttons, real noble work. Then snickered quietly. I said nothing. They didn't know that clicking buttons had become a full-stack educational platform, built with adaptive design for accessibility, screen readers, voice commands, motor skill tracking. They didn't know our newsletter had a 78% open rate. They didn't know we were piloting SilverLink in 3 state-run community centers. My little project was changing more lives in a week than most of their corporate meetings did in a year. But I never told them. Because when someone hands you a label like failure, you either fight to tear it off, or you wear it quietly while building something too big for them to ignore. 2 weeks before Ethan's engagement party, my inbox pinged. Subject line, Amanda C. Testimonial Submission. Amanda, that was Ethan's fiancée. Clicked. A 90-second video appeared, part of our Stories That Shine campaign where users and their families shared how SilverLink had changed their lives. Amanda sat in a softly lit living room, holding the hand of a smiling older woman. "This is my grandma, Margaret," she said. She lost Grandpa last spring and it was a really lonely time for her. But thanks to SilverLink, she stayed connected with all of us, video calling every week, learning how to use online grocery apps. Gave her back confidence. It gave us back her. I watched it 3 times. Amanda didn't know who I was. She didn't connect the dots. She just knew SilverLink helped her family. Her grandmother looked into the camera at the end and said, "Thank you, Isabella. You helped me feel human again." That night, my mother called. "Don't forget the engagement dinner is Saturday. We want everything perfect." I wasn't sure if I should go. "Why wouldn't you?" she asked, but the question came too fast, too sharp. "I'm not sure I belong," I said. A beat of silence. "Just don't talk about your website thing too much, okay?" Amanda's family is very professional, very Ivy League types. I almost laughed. "Got it," I said. No mention of buttons. She didn't catch the sarcasm. I hung up and stared out my apartment window, watching the city lights flicker in the rain. My mother had no idea that Amanda had thanked me, publicly, emotionally, for giving her grandmother a way to stay connected. And I had no intention of saying a word. Not yet. Sometimes truth is best when it introduces itself. The night of the engagement party, I didn't touch the RSVP card. I knew they expected me to show up, smile politely, and stay in the background, like a faded photograph you barely notice. I told myself I'd go for Amanda, for the grandmother who said I helped her feel human again, not for my family. At a cousin's barbecue the week before, someone had asked, "So, still doing your little internet thing?" I smiled, nodded, and bit my tongue. My mom stood right there but didn't correct them. No mention of staff or users or grants. She just offered more potato salad and I stood holding a paper plate, pretending I wasn't shrinking. Never again for them. The office, we were finalizing a partnership with the state library system. SilverLink would be piloted in 12 rural branches, places where seniors had more goats than broadband. It was real, impactful work. Meanwhile, at home, my mother was choosing napkin colors and emailing photo references for appropriate dresses with a note. No black, no pantsuits. Something feminine this time. I stared at the message like it had teeth. My mother loved control, especially over women who refused to be controlled. Friday, the day before the party, I met our new intern, a brilliant 19-year-old coder named Jamie. While we chatted, a woman from the next table leaned over. "Are you Isabella Clark? From SilverLink?" I blinked. "Yes." "Oh my gosh," she smiled. "My dad's been using your platform for months. He even sends me memes now." Memes? I didn't even know he knew what a meme was. Jamie looked at me like I'd just grown a cape. "You didn't tell me people recognize you." "They usually don't," I said, but the truth was, it was happening. More emails, more testimonials, a podcast invite, a quiet buzz. Outside my family's narrow view, I wasn't invisible. I was rising. That night, I couldn't sleep. Amanda's video played over and over in my mind, the way she looked at her grandmother, the sincerity in her voice. She didn't know me personally, but she trusted something I built, something born from pain, failure, and reinvention. That trust was pure, earned, undeniable. Unlike the love I'd spent years chasing from people who refused to see me. 3 a.m. I got up and pulled out a dress, not black, not a pantsuit, a deep emerald green sleeveless with clean lines. Mine. I packed Amanda's testimonial video on a USB drive, not to show anyone, just to carry a quiet reminder that sometimes the waves we make reach farther than we imagine. That sometimes the ones who thought we'd disappeared are the first to notice when we rise again. The restaurant was glass and gold, the kind of place where the lighting was dim on purpose and the bread came with truffle butter. I arrived 10 minutes early. My mother looked surprised when she saw me. "Oh, you came." "You asked me to," I said simply. "Well, I'm glad." She wasn't. I saw it in her eyes, the tight smile, the glance at my dress like it was one shade too bold, 1 inch too defiant. I took my seat near the end of the table, far enough to be out of focus, just how they liked it. Finn and Amanda arrived 15 minutes later, beaming. Amanda hugged everyone, including me. She didn't say much. She didn't recognize me, not yet, not like that. The evening wore on with speeches and champagne toasts. Finn's boss talked about legacy and loyalty. Amanda's father spoke about family honor. I nodded along, still invisible. Until dessert. Amanda leaned over, eyes narrowed in curiosity. "I've been meaning to ask, Isabella, what do you do again?" The room went quiet around the edges. My mother stiffened. I took a sip of water. "I run a platform for digital literacy for older adults," I said. "Wait, like online classes?" "More like adaptive systems for long-term engagement. We specialize in accessibility, text, screen readers, large print, voice navigation." Amanda blinked. "What's it called?" "SilverLink." She stared, eyes wide. "No way." "Your SilverLink." I nodded. Her hand covered her mouth. She looked at Ethan, then back at me. "You're the Isabella Clarke, the founder, the face of SilverLink Stories That Shine campaign?" The room stopped breathing. My mother's fork paused midair. Amanda's grandmother, Margaret, had used SilverLink every day until she passed. "You helped her video call our family every Sunday. You gave us more time with her." Amanda said she submitted a video to your campaign. I smiled gently. "I know." I saw it. It meant a lot. Amanda stood. "Why didn't you say anything?" I shrugged. It wasn't the right time. She turned to the table. "I don't think you all understand. This woman built a national program from scratch. She's been featured on NPR and Forbes. She's changing lives." And Linda gasped. Uncle Joe cleared his throat. My father looked down at his wine. My mother opened her mouth, then closed it again. Amanda kept going. I can't believe I'm meeting you. You helped my family." My grandmother never called herself smart until she used SilverLink. I sat slowly, still stunned. Finn leaned toward me. "I didn't know." "You never asked," I said, voice calm. Silence isn't always cold. Sometimes it's awe. The rest of the night passed in a strange new light. People whispered, not behind my back, but toward me. Toasts suddenly included praise for Isabella's work. My mother sat stiff and quiet, as if recalibrating the story she'd told herself for years. For the first time in a long while, I didn't feel like a footnote. I felt like the headline. Not because I demanded it or interrupted, but because truth walked into the room on its own and refused to stay silent. The next morning, my phone buzzed with a message from Ethan. "I'm sorry I never asked. No excuses. No emojis." I stared at it, then turned my phone face down. Later that afternoon, my mother called twice. I didn't answer, not out of spite, but because I wasn't sure what she'd say. I didn't want her to shrink this moment like she always did, not this time. That night, I walked down to the pier. The air was crisp, laced with salt and pine. The world felt suspended, like something had quietly cracked open, and the light was deciding how far to reach. I thought of Amanda's face when she recognized me, not just recognition, but reverence. Not for fame, but for impact. For meaning. I thought about all the years I'd spent shrinking, believing their silence meant I wasn't enough. But now I knew better. 2 days later, a handwritten letter arrived from my mother. Dear Isabella, I watched Amanda's video. I cried, not because I didn't know what you built, but because I never bothered to ask. I was so focused on what you walked away from, I never looked at where you were going. You did what no one else in this family had the courage to do. You failed and kept going. And in doing so, you taught us all how to find our voices again. Love, Mom. I read it 3 times, then folded it carefully and placed it beside my desk. Not framed. Not displayed. Just kept. 'Cause this time I didn't need to prove anything. I was living it every day. That weekend, I gave a keynote at a community tech conference. No cameras. No national press. Just 60 people in a rec center auditorium, most holding notebooks, and hope. I told them the truth. I was never supposed to be here. I was supposed to be someone else. But life had other plans, and I stopped arguing with it. When the room stood to applaud, I didn't cry. But I smiled. Not the polite kind. The kind that reaches your spine and says, I made it. And I didn't need permission. 3 months later, Amanda invited me to lunch, not as Ethan's sister, but as Isabella Clark, the founder, the woman who built something from the ashes and dared to call it beautiful. We met at a sunlit cafe in Capitol Hill. She was already there, smiling, a notebook half open beside her coffee. I've been thinking, she said. There's a foundation I volunteer with. They fund social impact startups, especially those led by women. She slid the notebook toward me, filled with notes, numbers, potential connections. If you're ready to scale, I think we can help. I didn't hesitate. You don't owe me anything. She shook her head. This isn't about debt. It's about belief. You gave something to my grandmother I never could. I just want to see how far your light can reach. For once, I let someone believe in me without flinching. That summer, SilverLink launched its first nationwide campaign, digital dignity workshops in libraries, community centers, and veteran hubs. Free programs for underserved seniors. We hit 250,000 users. One day, I got an email from a 92-year-old in Montana. Your platform helped me apply for a passport online. I'm flying to see my great-granddaughter next month. I've never flown before. Thank you for giving me that first step. I held that message not for validation, but as a reminder. Every quiet effort matters. At Ethan and Amanda's wedding, I wore a navy jumpsuit. No one blinked. My mother introduced me as Isabella. She runs a national nonprofit. The label wasn't perfect, but it was a start. Later, she pulled me aside, glass of wine in hand, emotion in her eyes. You always walked your own way, she said. I used to think that meant you were lost. Now I see you were just walking ahead. We didn't hug, but we stood beside each other longer than ever before. And that felt like enough. That night, under a canopy of fairy lights, watching people dance, Ethan walked over, hands in pockets, a little nervous. Amanda tells me you're speaking at Google next month. Going to brag about being my sister. I laughed. You going to brag about being mine? He grinned. And just like that, the past loosened its grip. 2 weeks later, I sent them a small package, no press release, no credit. Inside, a handwritten note and a USB drive with a custom-built version of SilverLink for the assisted living facility where Amanda's grandmother spent her final years. Lifetime access. No fees. Full tech support. Some connections outlive misunderstanding. Thank you for helping mine find her voice. Amanda called the next morning, tears in her voice. You didn't have to. I smiled. I know. That's why I did. Back home, I taped a quote to my fridge. They'll tell everyone you failed until one day they ask how you did it. No signature. No bitterness. Just truth. Beneath it, my reflection, smiling. 'Cause this time, the light wasn't coming from anyone else. It was mine all along. Where are you watching from today? I'd love to hear what part of the world you're in and whether this story stirred something in you. Drop a comment below and share your thoughts. You never know who might need to hear your words. If this story spoke to you, if you believe in quiet victories, personal growth, and stories that matter, subscribe to the channel. There's so much more ahead, and I'd be honored to share it with you. Thank you for being here. Until next time, stay grounded, stay kind, and remember, your story is still unfolding.